We're often encouraged to practice kindness and prioritize others' needs over our own. However, let's not forget that being too kind can sometimes backfire like a worn-out spark plug. In a world overflowing with generosity, it's all too easy to end up emotionally and financially drained without a thank you in sight. So, in this video, we'll dive into 8 potential pitfalls of excessive kindness. We'll also get you strapped with 4 key strategies to be mindful of while navigating the trenches of complaining, while exploring the inside job of patience and self-respect, cultivating into confidence, fortitude, competent generosity, and responsibility as the antidote to suffering, where the path towards joy isn't devoid of obstacles, but rather is defined by the continuous effort to preserve joy amidst adversities. So, let's buckle up for point number 1. Setting your expectations too high. The Stoics once said that we should accept things as they are and not depend on what other people do to make us happy. By giving without that pesky, what's in it for me mindset, we can achieve a Zen-like emotional detachment. But let's be real, whether we are aware of it or not, it's hard for us to be fully selfless and can be as tricky as a cat in a room full of laser pointers. Therefore, when we pour our hearts into helping others, we might just set ourselves up for disappointment, expecting a thank you in return. So, when we ask for help, it's like we've trained others to think we're juggling their needs along with our own. That leads to unrealistic expectations and a recipe for frustration. So, remember folks, they're not letting us down. They're simply living their own lives like the stars of their own reality show. Number 2, people will only expect you to give them something that they want. The Stoics taught us that real worth and real value comes from virtuous actions, not bending over backwards to meet the needs and expectations of others' wishes. Therefore, mastering the art of moderation in giving is crucial for keeping control over your life and preserving your own mental well-being. People are made to adapt to a pattern, and the idea of the comfort zone comes from this desire to change. This means that if you're always giving, those around you will raise their expectations, since they know their safety net is always there to catch them in case they fall. So, if you don't appreciate your own worth, don't be surprised when others don't either. And unfortunately, hoping for reciprocity without setting clear boundaries is a long shot. So, keep in mind, others might cling to their Robin Hood mentality and have the potential to be completely oblivious to the toll that ends up taking on you. Number 3, your own goals will be neglected. The Stoics taught us that living a life of reason and virtue involves putting ourselves first at times, setting boundaries and honoring our responsibilities. If you continuously put others' needs before your own, you may find yourself running away from something inside you that's going to pop back up at the least convenient of times. If you're avoiding your own discomfort by being perpetually busy, it will eventually catch up with you, and your bad mood can get so much worse and easily morph into bitterness and resentment. Self-care isn't selfish and is inevitably essential. You can't pour from an empty cup. So before you help others, make sure you're rehydrating your own cup first and taking care of your own needs. As the saying goes, you shouldn't offer a piece of chocolate to someone else unless you've really enjoyed one yourself. Similarly, you shouldn't offer to clean a homie's crib until you've cleaned the crib of your own house first, where the rest of the world comes after you. Number 4, people will think you're soft, treating you like you're weak. Stoic philosophy encourages us to work on being strong and in charge of ourselves by setting limits and practicing self-discipline. By establishing these boundaries and taking control of our own lives, we cultivate respect and prevent perceptions of weakness. When one consistently gives too much overtime, others may recognize you as an expert, but not necessarily in the most positive of lights. Without limits, individuals might construe that as being soft because of the compromise you're making when it comes to your own well-being. On the other hand, when one begins to assert themselves by saying no, it can lead to something for you they never thought they would experience: respect. This distinction allows ourselves to better tell the difference between real people and those who just want to take advantage. Stoicism teaches us how important it is to be cautious whenever it comes to potentially overextending oneself. Therefore, it'd be healthy for you to learn how to handle these situations of self-interest with poise and grace. At the end of the day, what's going on here makes sense, but that doesn't mean it's fair. So, stick around, and I'll tell you all about that self-aggrandizement corn nut at the end so you can avoid getting taken advantage of. Number 5, you'll only get people who want something, and never those who want to give. If you're constantly giving, you might find yourself attracting those who are negative, needy, opportunistic, depressed, and/or have dark souls. When you're drained from giving too much, you'll vibrate at a low frequency, and those who seek to take advantage will be drawn to you like ants surrounding a Dorito. So, be mindful of how much energy you're pouring into others, making sure you're not attracting energy vampires who inevitably deplete your energy. Therefore, with a pinch of discernment, we can cook up relationships that are a win-win. If If you're a generous giver, you might just reel in a few needy, negative, opportunistic types. Therefore, when your energy tank runs low from constant giving, don't be surprised if you start attracting those who are more than willing to siphon off all of your generosity vibes. Number 6, developing harmful habits. The Stoics were all about that self-disciplined life, reminding us to keep our actions on a tight leash. Without a few solid boundaries, your habit of giving might spiral into a circus act of chaos. If you catch yourself drowning in unhealthy coping tricks, it's time for a reality check. A concerned friend will notice your transformation, and while you might want to roll your eyes at their worry, it's coming from a place of genuine care. So lend an ear, and those who really care about you are rooting for your glow up and not your flop down. Number 7, your kindness may raise suspicion. Stoicism says do good and shrug off the gossip, so when you shower others with kindness, don't be surprised if they start playing detective on your motives. Instead of a heartfelt thank you, you might get a raised eyebrow and a side eye. Sure, some folks are just skeptical, but often they're simply not used to seeing kindness without strings attached. So, stay true to your kind self. Just know that not everyone will appreciate your benevolent vibes, and that's okay. Number 8, you'll make people think twice. Stoicism tells us to do good things no matter what other people think of us. Therefore, when you play the role of the Good Samaritan, folks may start to wonder if you're just a wolf in sheep's clothing. So underneath all those pillars of virtue, are you trying to help, or are you just angling everything in the directions that you favor? While it's lovely to think everyone has a heart of gold, the world can be more of a mixed bag. So, when you turn up the kindness dial to 11, prepare for the side-eye whispers about your true motives to come up, despite them never existing in the way that conceptualized them in that moment. However, don't let this stop you from being kind, understanding that it's something you'll need to navigate cautiously and with discernment to best overcome those sets of circumstances. With that being said, let's look at what you can do to stop people from taking advantage. Number 1, paying attention to how I feel. The Stoics treated self-awareness and reflection like the holy grail of pizza slices. So, if you're feeling more deflated than a balloon at a kid's party, it's high time to hit pause and check your emotional dashboard. Your emotions are telling you something important. You might be giving too much and need to find a healthier balance. Remember, it's okay to acknowledge that you can't do it all. And perhaps you're overdoing the superhero gig and need to find your inner zen while becoming the hero within the confines of your own movie. Plan number 2, don't be afraid of the word no. Saying no is like a secret superpower, tough to master but essential for your life balance. The Stoics were onto something when they declared that time and energy are as valuable as gold. By learning to say no, you guard your zen and dodge burnout like a pro. Sure, it might feel a bit awkward at first, but if we don't learn to say this word when someone wants more from us than we can give, pessimism will take over our lives. But just like any skill, practice makes for less pitiful performances. And remember, saying no isn't the villain in your story. It's the hero of self-care and self-respect. Number 3, you have a time and a place for yourself. Self-discipline is like giving a high five to your own needs. Carving out time to recharge and indulging in whatever's tickling my fancy, be it sweating it out, splashing paint, or lounging with a cup of tea. Treat it like a VIP event in your calendar. And if someone tries to crash your party, you can politely decline or suggest a rain check. But remember, your well-being is the headliner. So, practice in front of the mirror and tell yourself that it's the only way to regain your freedom and avoid unnecessary and possible risk. So without remorse, you tell them no and enjoy that time and space just for yourself. If you don't want to be so direct, you can offer to help at a different time, but make it clear that you will only be able to help for a short time because you have other things to do. Number 4, recognize and distance yourself from energy vampires. Learn to identify the energy vampires who suck the joy out of your life without offering a single positive vibe in return. By protecting your energy, you're not just being wise, you're basically a self-control ninja. If someone is constantly dragging you down with their endless complaints and negativity, feel free to hit the road. True friends won't drain your battery, they'll charge you up. In the end, remember the Stoic principle of balance. Give too little, and you're selfish. Give too much, and you'll end up like a deflated balloon. So find that sweet spot where your generosity dances with self-care. And when in doubt, don't hesitate to whip out the magic word no. And thanks again for being a part of this journey. I hope these insights resonate with you and help you juggle life's curveballs with a bit more flair. So, if you find this video helpful or tickled your brain in just the type of way you were looking for, feel free to give this clip a thumbs up and share it with others who may. So stay strong, stay wise, and keep on growing.